talk about the parts of the microscope. Now you might be wondering, why do I need to know what a microscope is? We're talking about cells and viruses. Well, I'll tell you why. Microscopes are used to see itty-bitty organisms. Their lenses magnify it up so you can see all the little parts of the organism. Then let me tell you what all the different parts are. First, I'm going to start with the arm piece. Now, the arm is normally what you would carry the microscope by if you were to carry it. Also, we're going to show you what the base part is. The base is what the microscope stands on. When you carry a microscope, always make sure you grab the arm and the base and hold it firmly and don't horseplay or you'll drop the microscope and that'll be bad. Next, we're going to talk about the eyepiece. The eyepiece is where you look into the microscope and see all the little organisms or whatever you're looking at. Next is the coarse piece. And for the coarse piece, this is how you're going to get the focus. Now the coarse piece is the bigger knob and it's used to move like big distances so you can get closer to it. My assistant doesn't know how to spell coarse and doesn't know that there's an E, but whatever, that's okay. Next is the fine tuner, the fine knob, and this is to get all the blurriness out and get more of an exact look on it so you can see everything that's going on with clear vision. Now you've got the lower objective knob. And the lower objective is like whenever you're trying to just look at like the outside or like not really get really in depth to it, it shows less and less magnified. And then the higher objective has a more magnification. You can see a lot more with this one and you see a lot more detail of the organism or whatever you're looking at. Next is the stage. And on the stage is the stage clips. Now the stage is where you put your slide, where you put your slide so you can look and see what you're looking at. And the stage clips hold the slide in place so it doesn't go all around and do all the craziness that old people do, all that stuff. Now, next is the diaphragm. And the diaphragm holds the light and shows the light through. And the diaphragm sometimes covers up the light if you don't use
All
them.
right, guys, so now we're going to talk about the cell theory. All things are made of cells. Cells are the building blocks of life, and all cells come from pre-existing cells. Now, the difference between a theory and a law is that a theory can be added to while a law is set in stone. Now that we just learned about the cell theory, I bet you're wondering who came up with the cell theory. Schleiden is the one that discovered that all plants have cells. Then Schwann was the one who came up with all animals have cells. And lastly, Virchow was the one that came up with all cells come from pre-existing cells.
So guys, prokaryotes and eukaryotes are both types of cells. Now I'm going to tell you about the prokaryotes. The prokaryotes have no nucleus and they're quite small and simple. They have few organelles and they're mostly found in unicellular organisms. It's every organism that is prokaryotic is bacteria, and they are found in the domain bacteria and archaea. Their DNA and their RNA is free-floating in the cytoplasm.
Okay, guys, I'm here to tell you about eukaryotes. Eukaryotes have a nucleus, are larger and more complicated than the prokaryotes. They can be unicellular or multicellular, and they are in domain Eukarya, which has kingdom fungi, plantae, animalia, and protista. Their DNA and RNA is inside a nucleus.
Okay, I'm here to talk about this huge green chunk right here. And this is just comparing the two. So they both have ribosomes, they both have DNA and RNA, they both share a cell membrane, a cytoplasm, and a flagella to move around.
So, cells are in all living things. Well, plants and animals are living things also. So let's talk about the differences and the similarities between plants and animals. Plants have a cell wall that protects and holds in all the organelles and everything. They have chloroplasts, which helps them go through photosynthesis. They also have one large central vacuole that holds all their water. Since plants don't have legs, they can't really walk around and go get food and water, so they have to make their own and store their own. Also, plant cells are kind of square-like.
Animal cells, on the other hand, have no cell wall or chloroplast, so they can't go through photosynthesis. They have multiple small vacuoles because they can walk around and get water. And animal cells are more round-like.
Okay, so I'm comparing the two, and they both have a cell membrane, they both have a cytoplasm, they both have a nucleus, and they also both have multiple organelles. Okay, so we're going to be talking about viruses, and what they do is they reproduce by invading other cells considered a host cell. So the two reproductions of viruses is lytic and lysogenic. And they have either DNA or RNA. It's not both. The diseases that you can usually get from viruses are warts, common cold, flu, chickenpox. I have the cold right now. It's not so great. And they can't be treated with antibiotics, so don't try it. And they're not considered living because they don't have most of the components. By the way, here is a diagram. Embrace it, love it, study it. So the two viral reproductions are lytic and lysogenic. And the difference between lytic and lysogenic is that lytic destroys the host cell, while lysogenic changes the host cell into a virus cell. At some point, the lysogenic is going to go into the lytic cycle, but we'll talk about that later. So right now in the lytic cycle, the bacteriophage just now spot the host cell, and the bacteriophage enters the host cell, and it shows you just like, yeah. And the bacteriophage starts to duplicate, and this is its DNA, and it starts to insert it. And then sooner or later, it starts to replicate. This is more like a incubator, so to speak, to replicate the DNA. And sooner or later, the bacteriophage is going to burst out of the cell, and it's going to actually kill the cell. And the lysogenic one is going to change the host cell into a virus cell. And so what's going to happen is that the bacteriophage it's going to go into the host cell, and it's going to enter its DNA into the host cell. Now, the DNA is going to combine with the virus cell, but the host cell really isn't going to be compatible with it. So what it's going to try to do is the cell is going to try to divide to get rid of it. But sooner or later, it's going to actually start to go into this one. She is way too, acty.
Candy, why do you have a squirrel on your face?
And why is it green? Has it been eating too many leaves?
Can I feed your squirrel acorns?
Can I pet your squirrel?
It's a mustache, Mom. No, you cannot pet my squirrel!
Come on.
Mustache.
Be back.